I never thought I'd have the courage to talk about this. But lately, I've realized that silence only protects the people who hurt us. So here it goes. My name doesn't really matter. What matters is the story I'm about to tell you, because if you've ever been made to feel like you're not enough, like you're too much or not beautiful enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough, maybe my story will remind you that you are. When I met Daniel, I wasn't looking for love. I was still healing from the kind of heartbreak that makes you doubt your reflection in the mirror. But Daniel was different, or at least that's what I thought. He was charming, confident, and he had this way of making me feel like I was the only woman in the world. Every word he said felt like a promise. Every look felt like validation. And when someone like me, shy, self-conscious, always trying to hide behind baggy clothes, meets someone who seems to see beauty in you, you fall hard. He told me he loved my natural look, that I didn't need makeup, that I was perfect just as I was. First it felt like love. But later, I would realize those words weren't admiration. They were control disguised as affection. We started dating seriously. He met my family, he held my hand in public, and for the first time in years I felt seen. But slowly, little by little, things changed. It started with small comments. "You're really going to wear that?" he'd say, pretending to laugh. Or, "You look better when you don't try so hard." First, I brushed it off. He said it jokingly, right? But the more I tried to express myself, with clothes, makeup, or even just confidence, the more uncomfortable he seemed. He'd look at me with this disappointed expression, as if I'd broken some silent rule. One night, I told him I'd been thinking about modeling again. Before Daniel, I used to dream about it. I wasn't chasing fame. I just wanted to feel proud of myself, to celebrate the body I had spent years hating. I told him that I wanted to start small, maybe take a few photos, build a portfolio. His reaction? Cold. He laughed and said, "You? Modeling? Come on, babe. You're beautiful, but that world isn't for you. You're too soft, too emotional. You wouldn't survive a day there." His words sliced through me. I remember feeling my throat tighten as I smiled to hide the hurt. I went home that night and cried. Not because I believed him, but because a part of me did. Weeks passed. Every time I mentioned anything related to modeling, he'd change the subject or get irritated. "Why do you need strangers to tell you you're pretty?" he'd ask. "Isn't my love enough?" That guilt, that manipulation, it crept into my mind like poison. I started questioning myself. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was shallow for wanting to be seen. Maybe I was chasing validation instead of love. But deep down, something in me refused to die. I started following models online, watching how they carried themselves, confident, unapologetic. I wasn't jealous. I was inspired. For the first time, I saw women embracing what I had always been taught to hide. One day, a local photographer reached out. He'd seen my pictures on social media. Nothing fancy, just a few selfies I'd posted. He said I had potential and invited me for a free test shoot. I hesitated for days. When I finally told Daniel, he didn't even try to hide his anger. "So what, you're going to take half-naked pictures for some guy now?" he snapped. "It's just a test shoot," I said quietly. "It's professional." He shook his head. "You're embarrassing yourself. You're not that type of girl. I thought you were different." That night we argued for hours. He accused me of wanting attention, of changing, of not being the woman he fell in love with. And for the first time, I said something I'd never said before. Maybe the woman you fell in love with never really existed. Maybe you just liked that I didn't believe in myself. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. And I stood there, shaking, terrified, but strangely free. The next morning, I went to the photo shoot. My heart was racing. I didn't know how to pose or what to do. I kept thinking of his words echoing in my head. "You're not enough. You're too soft." But the photographer was kind, patient. He told me to just breathe, to be myself. When he showed me the first photo on his camera screen, I froze. For the first time in my life, I saw myself not as a collection of flaws, but as a woman. Strong, vulnerable, beautiful. I wanted to cry. I went home glowing. I couldn't wait to tell Daniel, to show him that I could do it. But when I called, he didn't answer. Hours passed. Then I got a message. Just one line. "I think we need to take a break." My chest tightened. I tried to call him again, but he ignored me. A few days later, I saw him posting pictures with another girl. She looked nothing like me, tall, glamorous, polished. And the caption read, "Find someone who knows their place." That night I broke. I sat on my bedroom floor, surrounded by the photos from my shoot, and cried until my voice was gone. I felt stupid for believing in him, stupid for thinking I could be enough. I deleted my pictures, I stopped eating, I stopped sleeping. My world collapsed around me, and I hated myself for still missing him. But sometimes rock bottom is where you find your reflection. A few weeks later, the photographer called again. He wanted to feature my photos in a local gallery. "People loved your pictures," he said. "There's something raw and real about you." First I said no. I couldn't bear the thought of Daniel seeing me like that, exposed, judged, open. But something inside whispered, "Do it." So I did. The night of the gallery, I wore a simple black dress. My hands were shaking as I walked in. My photo, a black and white portrait of me looking straight into the camera, was hanging on the wall. People were stopping to look, whispering words like powerful and vulnerable. I felt tears in my eyes. And then he walked in. Daniel. He froze when he saw me. His eyes scanned the room, then landed on my portrait. He walked over, and for a moment I thought he'd say something kind. But instead he whispered, "You really think this makes you someone?" I looked at him, really looked, and realized I didn't feel small anymore. I didn't owe him an answer. I just smiled and said, "No, it just reminds me that I always was." He left, and for the first time I didn't chase him. That night something shifted inside me. I went home and looked at myself in the mirror. Same face, same body, but a different woman staring back. Someone who'd learned that love that asks you to shrink isn't love at all. The following months were a blur of new experiences. Modeling gigs, photo shoots, traveling. But the biggest transformation wasn't physical. It was emotional. I started loving the woman I had become. The one who had survived being broken, belittled, and betrayed. Still, there were nights when I'd lie awake and remember his voice. That tone he used when he made me feel small. And instead of crying, I'd smile. Because now those memories weren't wounds anymore. They were reminders. Proof that I had rebuilt myself from the ruins he left behind. Months passed, and my world began to expand in ways I never imagined. I started booking more shoots. Not the glamorous, high-fashion kind, but the ones that told stories. Stories of pain, growth, strength. The kind of photos that made people feel something. I realized I wasn't chasing beauty anymore. I was chasing truth. And yet, no matter how far I went, a part of me still carried that old fear. The fear that I wasn't enough. Every time a new opportunity appeared, I'd hear his voice in the back of my mind, whispering doubt. But this time I didn't let it stop me. I started talking to other women who'd been through the same thing. Women who'd been made to feel small by the people they loved. Their stories mirrored mine, and together we began to heal. One evening, I was invited to speak at a small women's event. The theme was redefining beauty. I almost said no. I wasn't a public speaker. I was still learning how to stand tall in my own skin. But something told me this was important. So I said yes. When I stepped on stage, my hands were trembling. I looked out at the faces in the crowd, women of all ages, some with tears already in their eyes. I took a deep breath and said, "I used to believe that love meant being chosen, that if someone picked you, you had value. But now I know love isn't about being chosen. It's about choosing yourself." The room went silent. And then a quiet ripple of applause began. I saw women nodding, crying, smiling. In that moment, I realized that my pain had a purpose. It wasn't just my story anymore. It belonged to every woman who had ever been told she wasn't enough. After the event, a young girl approached me. She couldn't have been more than 17. Her voice was shaking when she said, "He told me I'd never be beautiful if I left him. But after hearing you, I think I finally can." That night, I cried again, but not from sadness. From gratitude. For the first time, my tears didn't come from a place of weakness. They came from healing. My career began to grow faster than I could keep up. I started getting messages from agencies, brands, even small magazines. I was no longer the insecure girl who hid behind fear. I was becoming the woman I'd always dreamed of being, and I did it on my own terms. Then one day, out of nowhere, Daniel texted me. It had been almost a year. I remember staring at the message on my phone for minutes before opening it. It said, I saw your face on a billboard downtown. You look different. Happy. I'm proud of you." For a second, my heart twisted. Old memories resurfaced, our laughter, our nights together. The way I once thought he was my forever. But then I took a deep breath and smiled. I didn't reply. Not out of anger, but out of peace. Because some chapters don't need closure. They just need silence. I think he expected me to respond, to crave the validation I once begged for. But I had already found it within myself. I had learned that the only approval that truly matters is the one you give your own reflection. Weeks later, I ran into him by accident. It was at a cafe near the studio where I worked. He looked surprised, maybe even uncomfortable. His hair was shorter, his eyes more tired. He smiled awkwardly and said, "You've changed." I smiled back. "No," I said softly. "I just stopped apologizing for being me." He didn't know how to respond. He just nodded and walked away. Watching him leave, I realized something powerful. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need him to regret losing me. My healing wasn't about him at all. It was about me reclaiming myself. After that day, everything started aligning. I was featured in a campaign that focused on self-acceptance. The photos were raw, no heavy makeup, no fancy clothes. Just women, barefaced and honest. I cried when I saw the final shots. Because that was me, the girl who once believed she had to shrink to be loved, now standing tall in the spotlight. The campaign went viral. My story spread online. Suddenly, messages from strangers poured in, women, men, even teenagers, all thanking me for sharing something real. I realized that my vulnerability was my strength. The very things I once hid were now the things that connected me to others. But with every success came reflection. There were nights when I'd sit alone in my apartment, staring at old photos of myself, the girl who used to cry over being left because of her looks. I would whisper to her, "You didn't lose him. You lost someone who couldn't see you." That truth became my anchor. Every time doubt tried to crawl back, I reminded myself that I was never the problem. His insecurity was not my burden to carry. Months turned into years. I built not just a career but a platform. A movement encouraging others to break free from toxic love, to rebuild their confidence, to understand that beauty isn't measured by someone else's standards. It's in the way you rise after being broken. It's in the way you choose to love yourself when no one else does. One afternoon, I was invited to a major modeling event in Paris. It felt surreal. Standing backstage, surrounded by lights, cameras, and chaos, I remembered the girl crying in her bedroom, deleting her pictures because a man said she wasn't enough. I closed my eyes and whispered a thank you, not to him, but to the version of me that refused to stay silent. The runway music started and I walked. Every step felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I wasn't walking for the photographers, the brands, or the fame. I was walking for the woman who thought she had to beg for love, for the girl who believed her worth depended on someone else's approval, for the person I used to be. When I reached the end of the runway, I looked up at the audience and smiled. I didn't see a crowd, I saw freedom. I saw closure. That night, as I sat alone in my hotel room, I thought about how far I had come. I realized that sometimes the people who break us the most are the ones who unknowingly hand us the tools to rebuild. Daniel didn't just leave me. He pushed me into becoming who I was meant to be. I don't hate him. I don't love him. I simply thank him for teaching me that love built on control isn't love at all. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the girl he left behind. I see a woman who found herself. A woman who isn't afraid to take up space, to shine, to speak. A woman who understands that beauty isn't what you see in the mirror. It's what you carry inside after surviving everything meant to destroy you. And if you're listening to this and you've ever been made to feel small, please, hear me when I say this. You don't need anyone's permission to be who you are. You don't need validation to be worthy. You are enough exactly as you are right now. People might leave. They might try to make you doubt your worth. But don't let them define your reflection. Let them go and watch yourself grow. Because sometimes the ending you feared the most is just the beginning you needed. I used to think my story ended the day he left me. But now I know that was the day my story began. If you've listened to my story this far, thank you. I want you to remember something. No one can take your light unless you hand it to them. The way you look, the way you feel, your scars, your insecurities, they're all part of what makes you real. Don't hide them. Don't shrink for love, because the right people won't fear your shine, they'll stand beside it. I lost someone who couldn't handle my reflection, but in that loss I found myself. And that's the most beautiful thing I've ever become. Thank you truly for staying with me until the end of my story. It means more than you can imagine. Sometimes just being heard is the first step to healing. And if my words touched you in any way, maybe they were meant to find you. I'd love to know your story too. Have you ever gone through something that made you doubt your worth, but then helped you rediscover your strength? Share it in the comments. You never know who might need to read your words today. And if you felt connected to my journey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here, every story carries a secret, one that reminds us we're never alone. Thank you for listening and for being part of Family Secrets.